To me, as I say, the most important thing about the nullification stuff is precisely that we are saying the unsayable, and that we are seeing sort of mainstream kind of opposition, like the Tea Parties, begin to at least listen. And again, there are a lot of disagreements we have with them, but they're a varied group, and some are good and some are bad. We've got to find the good ones, because there are a lot of bad guys. There are a lot of people prowling out there to get control of the Tea Party and to neutralize them. And I've already mentioned Dick Morris. I could mention, well, I don't know if I want to mention any other names. Richard Viguerie, I'll mention his name. I mean, this is a guy who just wants to make money off people like the Tea Parties. When Ron Paul, it was clear that he was attracting a sizable, very, very active following, Viguerie established a Ron Paul website where he collected people's email. He said, give me your email address and I'll send you Ron Paul updates, which he never did. He just kept their email addresses, and boom, he's got a free mailing list. People pay top dollar for mailing lists like that. That's the type of guy this is. And whatever you want him to believe, he'll believe. So these are the sorts of people who are trying to take over the Tea Party and whatever. Yeah, why let them do it? You know, why not make our own overtures? And I'm also told that some of the people in the Tea Parties are a little concerned about the idea of nullification. It's a scary sounding word. They don't want to be associated with it. But you know what? I guess my answer to that is, what is the point of being scared anymore? I mean, you've already been smeared more than they could have. Like, how could they smear you more than they already have, right? They've smeared the Tea Party to the point where, I mean, some people in this country think the Tea Parties are like Nazis. And these are like your neighbors, like a regular guy who has cookouts in his backyard. This is what they've done to these people already. How could it get worse? How could it get worse? They already think you're doing worse things than just nullifying, right? How could it get worse? Why not do it? Why not actually do something? And so ultimately, this is it. This is it. I feel like a lot of us get discouraged because we feel like all during our lifetimes we've observed a slow motion train wreck. And it's like we know the train wreck is coming. And it's like you're in a dream. You know, you shout out and just nothing happens. And yet, the train wreck becomes more and more imminent. And we feel like there's nothing we can, what more can I do? I've devoted myself to this cause. I've done everything there is to do. And to me, this is why there is at least this glimmer. And maybe nullification won't work. I'm not going to make any promises. Maybe it won't. But it might. It might. It's better than other things that have been tried, and it's at least something new. It's rooted in American history. It has a noble history behind it, contrary to what the propagandists will tell you. And so now, what we are seeing is that for the first time we have the technological infrastructure to go around the gatekeepers, to introduce previously forbidden topics to our fellow Americans. And with this tool, maybe the future doesn't have to be like the past. Maybe instead of just repeating the same old things and getting the same old results, maybe we can reach finally that tipping point where that critical mass of the population will follow us. It doesn't have to be a large percentage, because it's not a large percentage right now that actively support the government. Yeah, in an opinion poll, they'll say, yeah, I like getting free things. If you ask somebody, would you like to get something for free? Most people will say yes. That doesn't mean they're actively following and reading every Obama speech. No, most people are not doing anything of significance politically. So a lot of people will simply go along with, if we seem cool, then they'll want to jump on the bandwagon. I'm not worried about most people. I'm worried about that sliver of the population that is listening, that can be the opinion molders. I've gotten, and my friends have gotten, more emails than ever recently saying, what I've been reading on Mises and with Campaign for Liberty and LouRockwell.com has changed my whole outlook. I think there's fertile ground now. There is fertile ground. We might still not win, but our chances, I think now, instead of it just being just pure darkness as far as the eye can see, I at least see that there is a sort of a glimmer out there. And it's up to us now to devote everything we can to just grabbing it and bringing light to where there was once nothing but despair, darkness, and evil. So thank you all very much. I appreciate you coming out and spending a Saturday with me, and now it's time to get loaded.
you want to do.
Okay, all right. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll do like a little question thing, and then we'll just take a few questions, and then afterward you can just ask them the whole night, basically. Yes, sir.
One of the things I think quite a bit about is, separating succession from nullification. Could you elaborate?
Yeah,
on
okay,
that?
sure, yeah. In fact, I get this on the radio a lot. What, do you want to break up the union?
Yes.
So if you like saying, well, but that's a whole other conversation. I mean, of course, with me, I don't see anything wrong with secession, either constitutionally or morally. It's like it's for some reason it's like some boogeyman word, but all it means is that if a smaller entity doesn't want to be part of a larger entity anymore, you shouldn't use violence to keep them in. Like, why is that so controversial? It should just be common sense. But in our history, it's just been so demonized. Why is it that if one people and another people are in the same political unit and they have irreconcilable differences, why is the only solution one must dominate the other? Like, why are our moral possibilities so constrained that that's all we can think of? But anyway, what I've been saying, because I think right now there's no support for. I mean, there's a very, very small amount of support for that. I think partly because most people don't understand the depth of the problems that we're facing. There are still people who don't understand, and most people don't understand the depth of the economic and financial problems. They really are still thinking that the experts are in charge, so somehow everything will be put right, and things will go back to the way they were in the 80s or something, and we'll all be comfortable. I mean, they think that. So why change anything? So I don't think it's particularly. I mean, I have no problem talking about it and writing about it. I've done that, but I'm focusing on this because I think I think there are a lot of people who find it reasonable. I think it's practical and doable in the short run. And when I'm asked about this, I do give, though, the honest answer that by and large, for most of the nullifiers, a lot of the nullifiers, they viewed nullification as a peaceful alternative to secession. By the way, I don't mean to suggest that secession has to be violent. It need not be. The argument being that nullification avoids the extremes of secession and submission. That surely there has to be some third option. There has to be some way to resist within the union without losing whatever benefits accrue to you for being in the union. So that's sort of the answer I give, was that although Jefferson believed in a right of secession, he argued that you wouldn't need to exercise it if the states had some recourse within the union. But so anyway, so I think that's the quick sort of answer. That's how they envision it. And the other thing is, a lot of times people will say, "Oh, I got this one other thing I mentioned." A lot of times people will say, if I don't mention this, I'll kill myself here. Okay. They'll say, "Isn't this some kind of sinister Confederate idea? Isn't it tied in with the Confederate secession, Southern secession?" And part of the point of the book is to show this is an American doctrine, nullification. It was exercised by the North and the South alike, and that in fact, when you look at the South Carolina Ordinance of Secession, one of their complaints is that the northern states were nullifying too much. So that blows the minds of radio hosts. They don't know quite what to make of that. But that's sort of the quick answer I give to this. And then before I take another question, there's one other thing I just briefly want to mention, and I'm sorry about this, but did any of you see this video that I did called "Interview with a Zombie"? If there's anybody who didn't see this, I'm going to ask you to do this for me as a personal favor. As a personal favor, please go to this website. And yes, I've been buying domain names recently. I bought a domain name, interviewwithazombie.com. And believe it or not, that was available too. And the idea that if you watch it, it's a YouTube. This was a preemptive strike on